sweet NIGHTHAWK Customs. This is a collaboration between basically 4 companies. This is the 1911 that makes not 1911 people 1911 people. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Concealed Carry channel. I'm Grant McLean. Thanks for joining us today. We have a awesome unboxing and tabletop review, range review, all the good stuff that you're used to seeing here on the channel for this sweet NIGHTHAWK Customs. This NIGHTHAWK is a freaking sweet gun. It has been back here. I have my Zev where it was. It's been back there for a while. I'm a little reluctant sometimes to do reviews because it's the Concealed Carry channel to do guns that are larger, full-size guns. But I'm open to it, and a lot of people, are talking about this NIGHTHAWK. They're messaging me about it. Are you going to do a review on it? Because I've only ever seen one of these Agent 2s in a store ever. I've only seen one, and it wasn't the one that I own today. That one, I actually purchased it online and received it into Northwest Armory, but they are not easy to find. They are expensive, relatively speaking. I don't think for what you're getting that they are, with all things considered, that they are overpriced, and we'll get into that. People have been talking about it, so I said, you know what, let's go to the range, do the 3, 5, 7, and 10 yard thing, and let's break this thing down and kind of what I was looking for in my thought process of purchasing this gun. So without further ado, let's kind of jump into the unboxing portion of this, as if you were to go and buy the gun. It's going to come in this sweet little soft case right here. It's got several different compartments, which is kind of cool. So in the front pocket, we have all sorts of stuff. So you're going to have a sweet little key ring here. You're going to have a patch that you can iron onto something. I think some people have been getting patches that are Velcro, which is kind of cool too. You have a tool for your barrel bushing, which is sweet. Also says Agent 2 on it. There was one thing that was missing from this unboxing, and that is the bottle of lubricant from Gibbs. So Gibbs includes a bottle of lubricant with the gun, but since then it's been used, and so it's no longer in the case. But this is the paperwork that would have come with it. You're going to get a bunch of other paperwork too. So you'll get your usual, like, youth gun, handgun, a couple other warnings. You have your NIGHTHAWK letter, and you get all sorts of paperwork. And if you want to get any magazines, you can actually register your gun with NIGHTHAWK, and there's magazines that they have available to you if you're looking to purchase them. You do get some magazines, of course, with the gun, so we'll jump into that part. You have your kind of test fire target there, and you can see who it's been signed off by. You also have your test target shell and a big old sticker to let everybody know you have a NIGHTHAWK Customs. Oh, and your manual, which the manual is not specific to the Agent 2 model. It's just like a kind of generic NIGHTHAWK Customs 1911 manual. All right, going into the rest of the case, we'll open up the main compartment, and you're going to find 2 of these Chip McCormick 8-round magazines, and in the padded compartment, you'll have your NIGHTHAWK Agent 2 1911. Wow. Is that one of the sexiest, if not the sexiest, 1911? This is the 1911 that makes not 1911 people 1911 people. You know what I mean? This is one of those guns like, you know what? I'm more of a Glock guy or a SIG guy, or I'm this guy. And you go, oh yeah? You're not a 1911 guy? Nah, not really. Take a look at this. Okay. I guess I am. Okay, fine. You caught me. You caught me with the Agent 2. So in my thought process of getting this gun, I wanted the most badass 1911 I could find. Something that was super unique. Because what I find is pretty much 1911s in a certain sense, all look the same. There's small little characteristics here and there that you'll find to be different, but the shape is typically the same. The profile of the gun's pretty much the same. And of course, this is going to share, similar, profile. If you, stenciled this out, you go, oh, okay, that's 1911. But there are so many characteristics to this gun and so much attention to detail that this is, you set this aside next to other 1911s, it stands out completely in a very good way. Ultra modern lines. So I really like it a lot. Now, I am going to talk about my Dan Wesson that I have here as well. We're going to talk about this too a little bit. We're primarily going to focus on that Agent 2 here, but the price is significant enough that it is important in my mind to talk about what else may you want to consider if you're on kind of that cool 1911 journey, but you just can't fork out the doski for this, right? So let's talk about some of the specs here real quick. We have a full-size 1911. This one is chambered in 45. They do make this chambered in 9, and they also do make a commander size, which is going to be a little bit smaller. And those are also chambered in 9 and 45 as well. It is a single stack. As I showed you there, it is an 8+1. That's going to come with it. But you can get some awesome extended mags. And so to make this even cooler, I have found some Wilson Combat 10-round mags, and Chip McCormick also makes the powered 10s, but this one I really like this because it's a little bit more modern lines to it as well, which really complements the gun. So you can do 8+1 from the factory, you can do 10+1 with an extended mag. The barrel on this is 5 inches, nice big barrel there. The overall length is 8.6 inches. The height is 5.8, and the width, with the grip being the widest part, and there is some kind of width to it here with the controls, that's going to be 1.3 inches. The overall weight empty is 2 pounds 8 ounces. So this is not a light gun, and it feels very solid, which I like. MSRP. This is the most expensive handgun that I own. It's $4,499 is the MSRP. Now, finding this in a store is difficult. The supply and the demand in, right now it's June 2021. These types of guns are going for even more. That's why I want to talk about, the Dan Wesson as well, because, not everybody is at that point, Now, is it one of those things that is this gun overpriced? I don't necessarily think so. If you think it's overpriced and you immediately jump to that conclusion, you haven't done enough research. The people who own these guns, yes, they love them, but they have a great appreciation of how this gun came to be. And then also, of course, supporting those incredibly talented gunsmiths that put these together. And great respect to this 1911 platform. So you have to be on that train. You have to be of that mentality. And if you're not, then you're never going to get it. So it's one of those things. It's like, is it expensive? Or is it that you don't have enough knowledge to be able to put money and afford it in that regard? And if it's not for you, it's not for you. That's cool. There's plenty of other guns out there. And again, that's why we're going to talk about that Dan Wesson. Let's jump into our range findings. Now, full disclosure, I do not shoot this gun as often as I shoot my other guns. So I'm a little rusty with this, but nonetheless, I got to be true to myself and true to you guys, because that's what we're all about. So we did our usual 3, 5, 7, and 10 yards. And what we're doing here, and our goal in this, is to do a rapid fire scenario, 5 shots in 2 seconds. So at 3 yards, we have a 1.6 inch group. That's a nice group. We have 5 yards, 2.6. I was kind of disappointed in this one with myself as it started to move to the left a little bit. 2 bullet holes right here, side by side. I was pretty happy with that. But 2.6 inches, it's not terrible. I mean, you look at it, it's smaller than the size of my fist. And you put that on a silhouette, no problem. The 7 yards was actually a 2.1 inch group. So after that 5-inch group, I cognitively said to myself, hey, I need to make sure I keep that, front sight in the center of the target. And so then, it kind of brought it back to the center there. Actually, 2 bullet holes went right here, which I was really happy with. That's a 2.1 inch group right there. Pretty darn good for 7 yards. And then, of course, I let myself push them on over to the left again a little bit. And 2.6. So my 5 yard and my 10 yard were actually the same size groups, and again had a couple right there. So in both of these, I kind of had some that pushed off to the left a little bit more. Again, 2.6 inch group. That's smaller than the size of my fist. So on a silhouette, you can kind of see here, I can't really be that sad about it. And I always encouraged people too. I had a few viewers reach out to me and talk about the 5 shots in 2 seconds. And it's one of those things that, yeah, you're going to get some people that are like, oh, you need to take your time. Listen, the idea with these is a rapid fire scenario. In the scenario that you have somebody coming at you, trying to harm you, harm your family, you don't have a whole lot of time to react to that. And, taking your time, I mean, 7 yards, that's only 21 feet. And people can make that up in 5 or 6 steps easily. I definitely encourage those of you to try it. See what your groups are. See how much you can improve those groups with a gun that you are familiar with. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more difficult if you're just picking up a gun, popping it out of the box and taking it. Or, like this particular one. I've had this for a few years, but I don't shoot it that often because I'm shooting a lot of guns that I've never shot before when we go to the range. Definitely encourage doing that 3, 5, 7, and 10 yards if you can, or just doing some 5 shots in 2 seconds and seeing what you got. Maybe you can submit to the channel your shots. Maybe we'll run a contest on that. You know what I mean? Yeah, give us a comment and let us know if you want us to do that. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the overall kind of overarching review of this gun. And if you haven't seen this before, what we do is basically start at the top of the sights and work our way down to the magazines of what you're going to get from the factory. At the front here, you're going to find a NIGHTHAWK fiber optic sight. Now, I've talked about this in other videos, and you can actually see that fiber optic sight is pretty worn. I do like that there's some serrations on that sight to give it some anti-glare, but the top of that sight, it doesn't have like a guard over the top of it, which you'll see on some other guns with fiber optic sights. So going in and out of holster, it does wear. So that's something to keep in mind. I need to replace this one here. The rear sight, this is a Heine rear sight. It's a dovetail sight. It also does have the nice serrations in there for anti-glare, and it does have kind of a hook to it in the front. And the reason why you may want that is if you're doing like one-hand reload scenarios where you need to use that hook on a tabletop or something where you can push down on it and rack and manipulate the gun if you only have one hand to do so. I really do like the Heine sights. They're not adjustable for elevation, but you can adjust them with the Allen key that comes in the box for windage. Now, I have seen some of the NIGHTHAWKs where from the factory, and this was kind of silly, I called NIGHTHAWK and I said, hey, I want to get my slide cut for an RMR. And they said, no. What? They said, no. You have to order it that way from the factory. So keep that in mind if you want one of these. Now, I could take it to a smith here, but I wanted them to also recoat the gun because of how much wear there is on other places on the gun, which we'll talk about in a second. But I wanted them to re-Cerakote it and cut that slide at the same time, and they said no. If you're looking at this gun, I would definitely recommend to get that with the RMR cut out from the factory if you're going to go that route. Going into the slide, this is a collaboration with Agency Arms. So this is a collaboration between basically 4 companies. You have NIGHTHAWK, who's making the gun. You have the styling cues from Agency Arms. Huge, well-known, very well-respected name. when it comes to aftermarket, primarily like Glock accessories, high performance guns in that spectrum. Nice stuff. So you have some great design aspects from them. And then the grips are coming from Rail Scales, who does awesome grips. They do some awesome stuff in the AR-15 platforms. I have the Rail Scales on the Honey Badger here, so you can check that out in that review if you want to check them out. But they did the G10 grips on this, and I'm a huge fan of that. The fourth company being Hillbilly 223, and they are a premier Cerakoting service. So they do some awesome Cerakote jobs, and they did this one here in that gray, and it looks fantastic. But up here on the front of the slide, from going in and out of the holster, there is some wear that's not abnormal. I'm not necessarily like complaining about that when I said I want to send it in. It's just I wanted it refreshed. Some people aren't going to care, and hey, more power to you. Save yourself some money. The front serrations are awesome. This gun is very, very smooth. The spring weight is pretty heavy, as most 1911s are, but because you have so much surface area up front, it's like you don't even notice. The rear serrations, love those as well. Very, very easy to manipulate. This gun feels like it's on ball bearings, and it is so nicely fitted from the slide to the frame. There's no rattle, there's no wiggle, there's no nothing. If you do hear that, it's probably this bracelet. But this gun feels literally like it's made out of just one single block, and I love it. People who hold on to this gun, they're just like, wow, this is so good. And it's so solid, and it is heavy that it's like, oh man, if I ran out of rounds, I'd beat somebody with this thing. Yeah, you certainly could. This is really solid. I love it. But huge thumbs up on the front serrations. The rear serrations, love them. For those of you who love the window cuts, you can see that it's beautiful. That window cut right there just looks amazing. Oh, really like that. Going into the barrel, 5-inch match grade barrel. Love it. Has the beautiful crowning up front here, as you can see. See that beautiful crowning right there. The fit, just incredible. That front bushing is different than most 1911s, as you can tell. It's got those great lines to it right there. See that? Man, sexy gun. Really, just a super sexy gun. Going into the controls here, we'll talk about that hammer first. You got that skeletonized hammer with the serrations on top. Very easy to manipulate there. The slide lock release lever and the safety are from the factory. They are not ambidextrous, okay? And well, the slide lock release lever isn't ambidextrous from the factory, but sometimes you'll see on 1911s the safety is ambidextrous. On this particular gun, it is not. Is that something you might be able to order from Nighthawk that way? Possibly. Give them a call. But I really like the shape, the styling, and I love the serrations on top of them. They look and function incredibly well. So I have only good things to say about that. Safety is very easy to manipulate. The slide lock release lever is very light, very easy to manipulate there as well. Love it. One of the things that I am a big fan of is the mag release there. So the mag release, it's got a slight angle to it there. It's not flat. And I really dig that because majority of them are flat. And that little bit of attention to detail, again, is where you're seeing the price go up. It's the labor, the attention to detail, and you learn attention to detail from experience. That's exactly what you want with this gun, is like somebody who has all that time and effort underneath their belt putting together a freaking work of art with the best machining possible. You know, all the best tools, all the best materials, everything. The whole thing is done by one gun, one gunsmith. One gunsmith does everything on this. How sweet is that? The amount of ownership they take in putting together this piece of art. You're not going to find it anywhere else. The magazine release, I do really like. It's easy to manipulate, even though I have about medium-sized hands, and I know those of you have medium-sized hands, small-sized hands. 1911s can feel a little large in the hand, and reaching that mag release, so you might have to actually turn your hand. This particular one, I feel that my finger can definitely get to that mag release easily. So you can see that, okay? And I do like that. Very easy to manipulate. Nice, solid, doesn't feel loose or anything in there. Big fan of it. Going into the trigger, this is a custom NIGHTHAWK trigger. It's a dream. It is a dream. We'll do some trigger pulls right now for you. Oh, there's like the slightest bit of take up. It's probably about a 1/16 of an inch and you're at the wall, and it's a very defined wall. This trigger is about 3.5 pounds. This thing is super light, super crisp. When you get that reset, it doesn't fling, push your finger forward and then you have to pull back a little bit to get to the wall again. When it resets, you're at the wall, and it resets again like a 1/16 of an inch. It is so crisp, so smooth. It's one of those triggers that if you are a trigger person and you feel this, you're like, oh yeah, I do like that. Again, that's where you're going to see that price difference right there. The rest of the frame, you have the 1913 rail, and you again have more of the awesome agency arms styling going on there. Let's talk about this grip real quick. Now, these are the Rail Scales G10 grips, and they have done just a fabulous job machining this G10 out. It looks awesome. I love the little inset here for your thumb. You have the little Rail Scales insignia there. Looks awesome. Both sides, perfect. You can ask, honestly, for a better company, in my opinion. At the front of the grip there, you have that kind of complementing serrations from the slide and the back strap and the front strap, and also on the grips, it's kind of brought into the front strap, which I do like that a lot too. Looks very cohesive. You have this really nice high undercut here as well, underneath that trigger guard, getting your hand nice and high on it. It's a very smooth shooting gun for being a 45, so I really like that. I can get a nice high grip, nice and deep into that gun. Oh, love it. Going to the back, got those same serrations, very nice. The safety disengages no problem, very smooth. It's not rattly or anything like that you might find on some 1911s, whereas like when you shake them, the safety's like all over, wiggling all over the place. This one is not the case. Going down into the magwell, you have a nice flared magwell. It is very, very well finished off, and you can see that looks very good. Now, the magazines I think look cool. Yeah, you have the Wilsons. Got those Wilson Combats right there. Check those babies out. They look sweet, right? But I actually had some of my Sig Sauer magazines from my other 1911s that I had prior, and they're non-labeled, but these ones actually have a little flare to them, as you can see there, and those also look very nice in there as well. As I said, let's set that 1911 or that NIGHTHAWK aside there, and let's talk about the Dan Wesson. I acquired the Dan Wesson after I've owned the NIGHTHAWK, and I wanted something I could shoot 45 suppressed, so I went with the Dan Wesson Discretion. I do have a review on this gun. We'll put it in the description below so you can go back and check that out. We're not going to talk too much about this because I don't want the video to drag on, but here's the thing is that NIGHTHAWK is $4,500. If you can find it, it's probably going to go for more just because supply and demand in today's market. What other brands could you look at if you want a great quality 1911 without spending that much money. There are other Nighthawk models that are less expensive, right? You can get into the 3000s, you can get Nighthawk no problem, right? This is just one of those particular ones that's just more money. But say, 3,000 is even a stretch for most people. Breaking into like the 1500 range, I think is kind of a stretch for most people for handguns. But here's the thing is with 1911s, they're designed to be hand fitted. And unfortunately, somewhere along the line, companies went out and just said, hey, we want to make 1911s as cheap as possible. And it brought the price down. And you can certainly tell, or at least I can, because I've shot quite a few of them, a difference between a gun that has had the time and attention and detail that a 1911 deserves and is supposed to have versus one that doesn't. There is a brand, Dan Wesson, that I think does a great job of not being a custom brand, but having a lot of the custom fit, finishes, quality, and quality control. And I went with the Discretion because I wanted something more modern, something with the cool window cuts and serrations, G10 grips, and of course I wanted it to be threaded because I do run a suppressor on this. So if you are looking for a great quality 1911 and you're not quite there to get the NIGHTHAWK Agent 2, or you can't find one, I would certainly say, hey, take a look at Dan Wesson. Those guys do awesome stuff. There are other 1911 manufacturers like Les Bear, Wilson Combat does like some 1911s as well. Triarch does 1911s. But again, if you want something in that lower, I think, price range, but still getting great quality of craftsmanship and maybe more modern lines and features that you might find on this, I would definitely take a look at Dan Wesson. Not trying to talk those of you who have this on your radar out of it. This gun is awesome. It's almost like, hey, if you want the Ferrari, go get the Ferrari. Okay? You know why you're buying it. If you want the Corvette, get the Corvette. You're going to be happy with either one of them at the end of the day. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on this awesome unboxing tabletop review of the Nighthawk. Those of you who've reached out to me asking for me to do this, I'd love for you to comment below and let me know what you think. Other than that, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends and family. And we will see you next time here for another awesome review. It's Nighthawk Agent 2, 1911. It's a bad motherfucker. Great, mic check, 1, 2, bang, bang.
I'm taking notes, just so you know.
By cognitively, oh my god. Cognitively, yes. I like it. It's very easy to, what the hell? There we go. Okay.
Hold on 1 second.
What do you say to me? Tell you. Okay.